Welcome everybody, Shir number 910. We're learning today L'Refuah Shalema Mamel Bas Brain Aleya L'Ilay Nishmas Moshe Doiv Ben Rabban Zisel L'Ilay Nishmas Blima Bas Moshe. Getting back to our malacha of MAKEH B'PATISH. Okay, we ended off last year talking about the interesting, we established, we're talking about watches in general, wind-up items. We're starting with the watches. We said if it's broken, you can't wind, and not if it's broken, if it stopped working, you can't wind it on Shabbos. If it's still going, we said b'makam chayli she'ein boi sakana, and we said possibly there are those who will make a b'makam mitzvah. Okay, but be it as it may, we said at the end of the shir an interesting fact that the Shmir Shabbos Hilchos brings down. To move the handles to bring it to the right time is allowed. So I just want to talk about a minute why would that not be fixing? If it's the wrong time, we could maybe say that it's broken or it's not working the right way. I don't have the right time. So how does that help me? So the Sefer Lametes and therefore if I move the handles to the right time, maybe we're saying we're fixing the watch, and that will be Tikkun Mana MAKEH B'PATISH. So the Sefer Lametes Malachas on page 1144 explains that whole issue, and he starts out by saying, just to read from there, what he says, any manner, and explaining that which the Sefer Shmir Shabbos Hilchos brought down by moving even on a clock the handles. He says like this: does the Sefer Lametes Malachas, any manner of repairing a watch or clock, whether this entails fixing the gears, the springs, or assembling components, right? Placing the hands of the timepiece into the stem or the like. In other words, we said you can move it, but you can't place the piece, the handpiece that turns, from hour to hour. You can't put that on. Obviously, that's a real Tikkun Mana. All that would not be allowed. On the Boina, MAKEH B'PATISH, Tikkun Mana, and so on. Removing or replacing the back plate of the watch also involves at least one of the malachas that we've been talking about. However, he does say many poskim permit one to set a watch or clock to the correct time. Timepieces with hands that can be set mechanically. Again, we're talking about mechanically, nothing to do with digital numbers, digital readouts, buttons, noises. We said all that is also. But just to move the hands, the hands on the mechanical timepiece, that we said was, again, not putting them on, but just moving them while they're going to the right number. So he's down two interesting reasons why. I think it's important to go through them. He says, number one, some places can maintain that any working timepiece is useful for telling time, even when it's incorrectly set, because the owner can nevertheless calculate the correct time by comparing and measuring it against another correctly set timepiece. In other words, I see something, I see my watch says 2:20 and it's really 2 o'clock. I see a different watch says 2 and I know it's 2 o'clock. So I know every time I look, I'll just take off 20 minutes, right? So that's what he says. You take off for example, 20 minutes, half hour, whatever the watch is showing. So for the next 24 hours till after Shabbos, I'll just keep on taking off 20 minutes and that'll be the time. So therefore, the incorrectly set timepiece is essentially functional for this purpose. It's a working watch. It's a working clock. And you can't classify it as broken because, so I take off 20 minutes. What's the problem? So setting it to the correct time is therefore not a true act of repair. It's not a real repair whereby we're going to call it Tikkun Mana. Now he says further, interesting that there are others who argue, will say one shouldn't do it. It's a problem. It's a question of repairing it, but he brings down, even according to those views, as a Sefer Lametes Malachas, that that's only for other people. But as far as the owner goes, for the one who owns the watch, is wearing the watch, one who is aware of the incorrect setting, it is one who is not familiar with what that the watch does not have the right time. So that then is taka useless. But that would be others. But for the one who might wish to look at it and find out the time, in other words, the person who owns the watch itself, setting the time could still not be classified as a true act of repair, but rather an act of adjustment and use. That's what he says, because Lamaisa, I really know the time it is. So the fact that we'll say that it's really not workable, we could say would be more for others. Okay, but be it as it may, he says even further, interesting, that setting and resetting the time is a regular required adjustment and use of a timepiece. This is the normal usage of the watch. Even though one might time it. Well, what do you mean? If I have a regular wristwatch that winds up, so the normal usage is also to wind it. But that we said if it's not working at all, so then there's no use. It has no use at all. But this does have a use. It's working. It's just off by 20 minutes. So you make a cheshbon from there. So therefore, he says the malacha MAKEH B'PATISH does not apply to adjusting an item as part of its regular mode of use. This is the derech tashmish, to move the handles if one has to change the time. So it's the ordinary operation, and it cannot be seen as a creation of or a creation or a repair of the item itself. Okay, be it as it may. Bottom line is there are those who argue a little bit, and one has to be careful a little bit. In other words, he brings down the bottom line is it should be noted that some place can adapt a more stringent view. And say that a taka is running into a problem. One should therefore refrain from setting a watch or clock unless one does so for a mitzvah-related purpose. In other words, need be, preferably, obviously, one should do this before, if they know before Shabbos it's off, set it before Shabbos. Not to set it, we're not talking about set it, but to change the handles before Shabbos. It comes Shabbos and they forgot, or whatever the case is. If preferably, he says, one should therefore refrain from setting a watch. Some bring down from setting the moving the handles on the clutch, unless it's for some sort of a mitzvah-related purpose. Even say he brings down the back, even the mitzvah kasas, a small mitzvah. So be it as it may, bottom line is, if need be, one has to move the hands, like we said on the watch, and it's just a simple mechanical type of watch or clock, and so Lamaisa, there's no real change in it. There's no changing of batteries and all these type of things. It's not affecting anything in any way. So then we said it's okay, but preferably to do it if it has to be done where there's some sort of a mitzvah involved. He brings down in conjunction with this, that interesting thing that replacing batteries. He brings down, does the Sefer Lamentes Malachas, that replacing batteries in a this could be found on page 1145. I always mention this, Kedai people could look it up and look at it themselves. Where possible, and it's taka. We always mention, we don't always mention, but we should mention that the Sefer Malachas that was written by Rav Riviyach, that it's something that basically every Jewish home should try and have as much as possible. It's mamish a beautiful encyclopedia of all of Hilchos Shabbos with kamat, all the various different beautiful cases with pictures and everything. It's very, very important. It's four sfarim. It comes in a set of four sfarim. In general, they're gray. The outside is gray, and it's something that many Jewish homes have, and where possible, one should try and to have it or to purchase it and always have it on hand. And like this, they could always look up. Come Shabbos, it's always hard. Can't always ask this and that. So it's very important, Sefer, to have the whole set of Sefer Lamentes Malachas. Okay, be it as it may. Getting back to again on page 1145, he says replacing batteries on the non-muksa devices, let's say like on a, whatever the case is, we spoke about a watch, a battery-operated watch, we said if one wears it, we said there was no problem, but Lamaisa, just replacing the battery of a battery-powered instrument or appliance is MAKEH B'PATISH, he says. But interesting, why? He says, even if the instrument does not become activated until after being switched on. I didn't switch it on, what I do? But Lamaisa brings down, this is because the mere installation of the battery effectively completes the instrument by transforming it into an operational item. Very interesting. So now he said, just giving an example, replacing the batteries or any other component of a battery-powered watch, hearing aid, but all these type of things would be also to do on Shabbos Yom Tov. Now in the case of a hearing aid, I'm not going to get into, one would have to ask a shaila in reference to asking a guy to do it. So again, need be, we're not getting into this right now, that one definitely, to find out or to have somebody find out for them how to work with it if they needed to ask a shaila, obviously if the case comes up. But we're just going through, right now we're just going through the bare halacha, what the halacha is, what's supposed to be done. And then from there, one has to ask in various different situations. We're going to stop over here. Thank you for listening. Hatzlacha and bracha, kol tov.